I'm Donna.
And I'm Kerri.
And we are Paranormal Chicks.
Episode 174.
Well, Love Island's back, US and UK. So I'm all kinds of busy. And Big Brother's going on too, but more importantly, Love Island.
I haven't watched Big Brother yet, but we did get Hulu Live back again. And so I'm super excited so I can catch up on all my Real Housewives, but I've watched none of them. I had a realization though, because I was thinking, I was like, who the fuck has time? Because I feel like I have not had time to sit down to watch those shows. But then last night, when I turned on my CPAP, I opened up my app and I was just looking at how many hours of sleep I have gotten on my CPAP, you know, because it times it a lot. I've gotten a lot. And it's like, even when I go to bed at like 11 or 12, it's like, no, you still get a good amount of sleep.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fucking feel like it, okay?
No, you're still really tired.
I'm still fucking exhausted. I need your sleep ability. Or lack thereof.
I don't know.
This is why I can't have kids. I need a solid 9 hours every night. I mean, I don't get that much. That's what my body requires. Which is why I'm fucking exhausted all the time. You know who's not exhausted all the time?
Who?
Patreoners! Well, I don't actually know their lives.
I was about to say, you don't know. They could be.
Well, maybe they don't fall asleep when they listen to us.
If they do, I'm pretty sure every time you yell Patreoners, you'll wake them up.
Or your loud-ass laugh.
Touche, my friend, touche. Oh my God, sorry. Bringing it back to Love Island. No! But kind of, because it's Love Island. Oh, actually, it might have been Too Hot to Handle, but it's basically the same thing. It's on Netflix, though. But they think they're going to Love Island, but then they get there, and for like a couple of hours, they are like, oh my God, we gonna hook up with all these hotties. And then there's like an Alexa, but it's like Lana is the name of it. But it's like a cone that talks to him, basically. So an Alexa. But it's like, you can't have sex, you can't kiss, you can't do any of this stuff. And if you do, you lose some of the prize money that they have to split. It's really funny. Anyway, because these people are like, wait, what? Because obviously no one's like had sex in these like 6 hours that they've been there. You know what I mean? Well, anyway, I think it was a show. Anyway, but how I said touche, they were talking about something. And I think it was like a really like deep moment, like, hey, like I'm letting go of my past self, blah, blah, blah. And this person was like, touche. But it was but I think she meant like me too. Yeah. She was like, touche. And the person, like the announcer, so it could have been Love Island, I don't know. But the announcer was like, that's not what that means, honey. But okay. But I was like, that's so me. Like, saying the wrong things. But you had the right like sentiment behind it. Like how she said it, I know she wasn't like, you know, like, touche.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, touche. Like, oh, honey, no. And, like Netflix tried, or whoever it was, they tried to hide it as much as possible too, because it was like really quiet, you know, it was like, oh, touche. Anyway, back to Patreoners.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Raj G from New Zealand.
Cynthia F from Ohio.
Sarah F from North Carolina.
Cynthia G from Connecticut.
Chloe N from Michigan.
Christy B from Alabama.
Amy R from Washington.
Amanda S from Texas.
Nadia R from West Virginia.
And Diana K from California.
Y'all gave me some really hard state abbreviations this week.
She's
I had to
really
ask for
bad.
like 3 of them.
She's really bad at state abbreviations, y'all.
Legit had to ask Donna 3 of them.
She's really bad at state abbreviations. Seriously, that would be her Saul. Waking up and be like, 50 states, go. Could you put my hand in glass, please?
Oh my gosh, have you seen that TikTok? I saved it to show it to you, and I don't think I ever did. Because you know how they were doing those, that it was like a boy's name that starts with a J and it rhymes with, and it would be like a seasoning or a state.
Yeah.
This guy goes, okay, y'all, we're going to figure this out. And he sings all the states, but he starts them with the letter J. So he's like, Jalabama, Jarkansas. Like, he like sings it. And I was like, damn, he did so good. Like, he sang the whole thing, putting J's in front of all of them. It was so funny. I can't sing it without the J's. Anyway, Patreoners. We are on weird tangents today. We got to focus. Okay. Thank y'all so much for joining Patreon and supporting us. If you want an episode shout out, head on over to patreon.com/theapcpodcast. Hey, and if you're a member of Patreon and you haven't gotten your thank you video yet, just know that they are on the way sometime.
Yes, because, we were sick.
Well, we suck. So they're coming. We promise.
Yes.
Be patient. Y'all are the best. We love you. Thank you. Bye.
Look, here, kids, gather around. Never procrastinate, because when you're like, oh, we'll catch up, then one of you gets sick, so then you don't do it. And then the next person gets it from the person who was sick, and then y'all go out of state to a thing, and then you're still not finished. So
here we are.
But y'all are going to get them, and they're going to be
great-ish. Just kidding. Mediocre, like us. Love you. Bye. All right. So my story this week got me fucking turned. Maybe I should say lit. It got me pissed. It got me fucking pissed.
I'm just wondering if it's going to be something that I can agree with or disagree with, because if I don't agree with it, she's going to be real pissed.
If you don't agree with me on this story, we're not doing the podcast anymore.
Oh, Lord.
I'm laying down the gauntlet.
Well, y'all heard it here first. It's her fault.
Okay, picture it. 1995, internet, chat rooms, booming, right? AOL Instant Messenger.
Hell yeah.
You're getting your away message going. And 15-year-old Alyssa Garcia is in Texas just crafting her away message. Oh, well, I imagine. I don't actually know. But she's on the internet, and she meets a guy by the name of Stephen Pladl. Stephen's 20 years old, and they hit it off. He's a little old for her, and her parents are not too keen on it, but they develop a relationship over the internet, and Alyssa falls in love with Stephen. Stephen lives in New York, and like I said, Alyssa lives in Texas. So Stephen, being, that he's fucking 20 years old and Alyssa's 15, Stephen makes a trip from New York to Texas so that they can meet and see if the feelings are mutual face to face. He gets there and they hit it off. So eventually, against Alyssa's parents' wishes, but she does it anyway, she ends up moving back to New York with Stephen, and they end up getting married. A couple of years later, when Alyssa's 17, she gets pregnant and gives birth to a baby girl by the name of Denise. And at this point, it's 1998, so, it's like kind of in that weird, 2.5/3 years. So it's like she's still only 17, but it's 3 calendar years later, So she's 17, Stephen's 22. They're young. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have a great relationship. It's a rocky relationship. And according to Alyssa, Stephen would abuse Denise. He would pinch Denise until he left bruises on her.
Oh my gosh.
Now, the next part I'm going to say, it's, content warning because it involves child abuse. But this part came from the Daily Mail. So, I don't know, allegedly. This part also came out way later, so it may or may not be true. But allegedly, when Denise was crying, Stephen would put her in a cooler to muffle the crying.
What?
And then keep her there until basically all the air was gone and she was right on the verge of suffocating, and then let her out.
Oh my gosh.
But again, that came out way later, and from my understanding, the Daily Mail is more of a tabloidy type magazine, so I'm not really sure. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, more sensationalized.
Yeah, like Us Weekly. It's more you know what I mean?
Yes.
But because of the abuse and the lack of money and them being young, Alyssa makes a decision to put Denise up for adoption. So Denise is adopted by Anthony and Kelly Fusco. Once they adopt Denise, they actually changed her name to Katie. And so for the rest of my story, she's going to be known as Katie because that becomes her legal name. So once she's adopted, she moves in with Anthony and Kelly Fusco in Dover, New York. Anthony is a officer with the New York State Department of Corrections, and Kelly is a secretary for the town's land use department, wherever the fuck that is.
Oh, they have, like, good pensions and everything. Of course, that's what I'm thinking about. Like,
right. They don't make shit for while they're there, but then they have real good retirement.
Yeah.
Katie had a great childhood. The Fuscos also had a biological daughter, so she had a sibling growing up. And, you know, they didn't have a lot of money, but they had a lot of love. I mean, like the classic, like, they had what they needed. And she had a great childhood, and she had a good education, and she was very artistic. She loved to draw, and she would copy her mom's drawings. And so, okay, let me just say this. So what I'm going to do from here on out, just to keep moms and dads and like biologicals and adopted parents straight, I'm going to call her adopted parents mom and dad. And then her biological parents, if I'm talking about them, I'm going to refer to them by name, or I'll say her biological mom, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Just because, I mean, they're her adopted parents, like...
Yeah, well, I feel like that's what she would call them.
Right, exactly. So, like I said, she was very artistic. And at a young age, her mom could draw. And so she would copy her mom's drawings. And that's how she started drawing more. And then she started doing, like, comic strips and that kind of thing. And drawing was just kind of her safe space. It was how she was able to express herself and even kind of rebel against rules and that kind of thing. All the while, Katie is living her best life with the Fuscos. Alyssa and Steven are still married, and they end up having, 10 years later, 2 more daughters. They don't put those children up for adoption because they feel like, okay, it's 10 years later, you know, they're older, they're more stable financially, they're more mature, they're in a place where they are able to handle having children at this point.
10 years makes a whole fuck ton of difference.
I mean, Alyssa goes from a 15-year-old to a 25-year-old. I mean, her insurance is cheaper now.
I mean, it's a joke, but it's serious.
I mean, think even just 21 to 25 is such a big change.
Such a big change.
Can you imagine 15 to 25?
No.
I mean, meanwhile, Steven went from 20 to 30 because he's a fucking 25-year-old that preyed on a 15-year-old online, but I digress.
Yeah. But even with him, that's a huge difference too.
For sure.
But yeah, no, I know. He's gross.
But even though they were older and more mature and a little more financially secure, it wasn't all coming up roses. Because Steven still had some issues with anger and had a hard time keeping a job. So Alyssa carried the burden of supporting the kids and her and him.
Holy shit.
In fact, I think I even read at one point there was a span of like 8 years that he didn't have a job or was just like in and out of jobs. He just could not keep a job. And it sounds like with his fucking attitude, no fucking wonder.
Right.
Well, in 2016, Katie is 18. And just like any 18-year-old, well, any kid that is adopted, you know, they're curious about their biological parents. And she's 18 now, and she's curious, and so she's able to do some exploring on her own. So Katie is actually able to track Alyssa and Steven down. She figures out, you know, who her biological parents are, and she finds them on social media. And so she sends them messages, and she ends up being able to start talking to both Steven and Alyssa online.
Damn. What started online is now like bringing them together.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. And they develop a pretty good like relationship. She develops one like individually with each of them. And in June, when she graduates high school, she had plans to go to this community college in the area to study digital advertising. But then she was like, I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to go to Virginia and live with Steven and Alyssa.
No.
And her parents were like, ooh, we don't like that. But okay. I mean...
Yeah, you can't say anything. And, you can only voice your opinion, but she's an adult.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what are they going to do? Say, no, don't go? Okay, one, well, that's just going to make her go more.
Right.
And two, she's fucking 18. What are you going to do?
Right.
Other than they could cut her off financially and stuff. But, I mean, she's 18. What are you going to do?
Yeah. If they said no, then she could just lie and leave and they would be out of the picture.
Yeah.
And if they cut her off, then that's just worse on her. So that's a hard... This is why I can't be a parent.
I know. It's a lose-lose situation. But then, you kind of also want her to meet them and experience her biological parents. But then on the other hand, I can imagine that they are probably a little protective and a little jealous and a little, it's like...
I mean...
all of those emotions are valid on both fronts,
For sure. I know. I say I know. I don't know what I would do because obviously I don't know. But I feel like I would be like, all right, but we're sitting down and we're going to talk about everything because we don't feel safe with you living there with them because you were in a situation that you weren't safe in because there was abuse.
Yeah.
And so, hey, it's a long time, and people can change. And we hope he has changed. But, like, blah, 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 blah.
But did they know about the abuse? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Because, they just put her up for adoption versus...
True.
It wasn't like there was, like, social services involved or anything like that. So they may not even know about the abuse.
That's true. God, see, this is why I can't do it. Like, oh, God, if they didn't even know.
Well, in August of 2016, Katie moves to Virginia to live with Steven, Alyssa, and their 2 daughters. So when Katie moves in, things are going great. Everybody's getting along. But Alyssa notices Steven's acting different. Like, it's almost like he's showing out in front of Katie. Like he's peacocking. Like, he's, like, changing his appearance, like trying to look cooler. Like he starts wearing skinny jeans, starts growing his hair out a little bit, shaves his beard off, to make himself look younger. Like he's peacocking, right? It's like, okay, you're cool, dude. We get it. Meanwhile, Alyssa's like busting her ass to support everybody now. And Steven's just hanging out at home with his new skinny jeans on. At this point, Alyssa's and Steven's relationship is really rocky. Like, they're not even sleeping in the same bedrooms anymore. Like, it's going south. It's heading for divorce. And it's just a matter of time at this point. Alyssa sees that Steven and Katie are getting really, really close. And Alyssa just wants Katie to be aware of Steven's volatile behavior because, he does have issues with anger, and it wasn't uncommon that everybody kind of had to walk on eggshells around him, and if he wasn't happy, nobody was happy, and he would break things around the house, and, if go into tantrums and that kind of thing, and, we've already talked about the abuse that she sustained as a baby, that kind of thing, and so Alyssa just wanted to be like, hey, Katie, this is the stuff that happened to you as a baby, this is what it's been like for us, I just want to let you know, watch your back. And Katie's like, okay, whatever. Kind of like 18-year-old kind of blows her off.
Right.
Okay, Alyssa,
Mm-hmm. If you told me that Katie falls in love with her dad, what the SBU is going on?
Well, then Steven starts sleeping in the bedroom floor in Katie's room.
What the ever-loving hell?
And Alyssa's like, well, that's fucking weird. And she's like, Steven, what the fuck are you doing? That's really fucking weird.
Yes.
And he's like, no, it's not. Mind your fucking business. At this point, Alyssa is over Steven and the marriage. And by November, she moves out and files for divorce. They share custody of the kids. And so now, most of the time, it's just Steven and Katie in the house.
How can they afford that?
I don't know. But what Alyssa doesn't realize is that, yeah, Steven and Katie have already crossed the line.
Oh my gosh.
They are already having sex. Katie is, quote unquote, in love with her biological father, and he is in love with her, and they are having a sexual relationship.
Is this what that SVU is based on? Oh.
I don't know. Again, Alyssa knows it's weird, their dynamic, but she doesn't know how weird it is. Until late May of 2017, Alyssa finds her 11-year-old daughter's diary, and she reads that Katie is pregnant and that Steven now wants the kids to refer to Katie as their stepmom and not their sister.
What?
And in this daughter's diary, she talks about how Steven is the devil and that Katie's like human, but if they're having a kid, like, does that make their baby the spawn of the devil? Like, she's trying to understand in her diary, like, and she draws them as like demons, like, because she hates her dad so much, you know, because she knows it's wrong and he's mean, and you know. And she's trying to you can see, because there's like pictures of this diary on the internet.
Wow.
And you can see her trying to reconcile this, and it's in kid handwriting, and it's just fucking heartbreaking.
Wow.
Well, when Alyssa sees this, she is like, dee-doo, boop, 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 boop. Steven, are you fucking kidding me? Katie's pregnant with your fucking kid? What did I just fucking read? And he's like, oh, I thought you knew.
Oh my gosh.
We're in love.
Oh my God.
And she's like, have you lost your fucking mind? And so Alyssa calls the police. She's like, y'all aren't gonna believe this shit, but my ex-husband and my fucking daughter are in a relationship, and she's pregnant. And so the police interview the kids, but they don't make an arrest. Later that summer, Steven and Katie moved to North Carolina. Again, I don't know how, because I don't think either one of them have fucking jobs. I don't fucking know. Then in July 20th of 2017, Steven and Katie go to Maryland, and they fucking get married.
What the actual fuck?
So, okay, it's not legal to marry your child in Maryland. Let's be clear. It's not legal.
I was about to say, Maryland?
No. We're not looking at you, Maryland. You didn't do anything wrong. But they were able to get legally married because, well, her name is not his name, and she was adopted, and they lied on the marriage license application thing, and didn't lie necessarily. They just didn't disclose that they were father and daughter because she's adopted, and they don't have the same last name and all of that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. This is so fucked up, y'all. They got married, and there were guests in attendance at this fucking wedding.
Who?
Steven's mom.
What?
And Katie's adopted parents.
What?
I know I call them adopted parents, but just to be clear that it was fucking the Fuscos.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. So Anthony and Kelly said, the Fuscos, they said same thing about when she fucking moved in with Alyssa and Steven. They're like, I mean, what else is there to do but support her?
No, not on that.
Yeah. She's like, y'all have to see these pictures. She is like, looks like 8 months pregnant. It was the picture. There's a picture of her like 8 months pregnant, and they're kissing, and it is horrifying to know that that is a father and daughter kissing. Like, if you just saw that, it'd be like, oh, but when it's like those fucking TikToks that it's like
the truth behind it,
the truth behind the fucking picture.
Whoa.
Oh my God. And like the pictures from the wedding, like they're all fucking smiling. Like they're all so happy to be there. Are you kidding?
And what's even worse, like that is bad in itself. Incest is bad. He abused her and almost killed her as a baby.
Allegedly. You know, the stuff with the...
Sorry, yes.
And again, all that about the abuse as an infant comes out way after all this story's done. So I do want to...
even the pinching?
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
so that's why I say, like,
okay.
I can't, you know...
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's not telling the truth, but I'm just saying there's no documented proof of it from back then. So that's my only, like, I don't know. So on September 1st, 2017, Katie gives birth to, well, her father's son.
Wow.
So he is now his baby's father and grandfather. It's a little boy that they named Bennett, which I do love that name, by the by.
Yeah.
And he's so precious. He's such a cute baby. Well, on November 29th, police issue arrest warrants for Stephen and Katie. They are finally arrested and charged with incest and adultery. Why adultery, I don't know, but they're charged with it. At first, Stephen's released first on bail and given a no-contact order. And so the no-contact order... that includes like social media, texting, calling, like literally emails, like literally no contact, like nothing, right?
He's not going to abide by that.
And all the while, Bennett is in the custody of Stephen's mom. Stephen is allowed to still see Bennett. He's just not allowed to contact Katie. Katie is bailed out after Stephen, same thing, given a no contact order. But she goes back to New York with her parents. While she's there, you know, it's been a couple of months, and she's able to kind of take herself out of the situation and clear her head some, and she's like, no, I need to end this with him. Like, I need to end this relationship.
Yeah.
And so she thinks to herself, but I need to tell him. So she decides to break the no contact order to call Stephen to break up with him.
Dumb.
So in April of 2018, she calls Stephen to break up with him. And of course, that goes over like a fucking lead balloon.
Right.
Stephen takes it horribly. It destroys him. He cannot cope with her ending this relationship. So he calls his mom and he tells her that he's going to come pick up Bennett to hang out with Bennett for a little while. So on April 11th of 2018, he goes and picks Bennett up from his mom's and brings him back to his house. When he gets Bennett back to his house, he takes him into the closet and suffocates him.
Oh my gosh.
And then leaves his body there.
I fucking hate him.
Yes. Then he gets in his car and drives basically all night from North Carolina to New York. When he gets there, he waits outside of Katie's house in his van. He knows their routine. He knows that they're going to be leaving soon to go see Katie's grandma. So he's sitting in the van waiting when he sees Katie and Anthony go to leave the house and get in their truck. So in his minivan, Stephen follows them. They don't get very far from the house when Stephen just can't wait any longer. As soon as they get to a stop sign, he pulls up beside them and starts shooting. He kills both Katie and her father. But before he had gotten to the house to kill Katie and Anthony, he had called his mom to tell her what he had done. His mom had already called 911 and had a wellness check done at the house, and they had found Bennett's body. Back in New York, by the time that a bystander who was an off-duty firefighter who had seen the whole incident with Katie and Anthony, was calling 911. Stephen died by suicide. And so there's really no way to wrap this story up. I mean, it's a heartbreaking story where, I mean, lives were destroyed. And, you know, there is this thing that's come out, I don't even know how recently you would call it, but some people say that there is this term called genetic sexual attraction. And they say that when like a biological parent and a biological child meet in adulthood, sometimes they have these like intense feelings for each other that are almost like a misbonding, they call it. And I don't know if they're like misinterpreting it as an attraction, but it happens. I don't know. You would think, you know, I asked one of my friends who's a psychologist, you know, I was like, what do you think? This genetic sexual attraction, like what, you know, and even they were like, you know, I would think that genetic makeup in those situations would run counter to sexual attraction. And that, like, you know, they even say, like, Mother Nature doesn't want us inbreeding, you know? So I don't, it's just so bizarre.
I guess I could see it a little bit, only because certain people, it would only be certain people. It's not like every one of them.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So on that SVU, I think they used that term, but I think what that case was about, he was like a sperm donor or something.
Yeah.
And she found out, you know, like she found him or something, whatever. Yeah. And so they did it. I think that's it. But again, that was one of the things, is like that's how they coped with that or whatever.
Yeah, but in this case, he raised her for 8 months. She was 8 months old when they put her up for adoption. Like, this isn't like, you know, it was a one-night stand, or even that Stephen was with Alyssa through pregnancy or whatever, and then, you know, at birth, they put her up for adoption. It's not even that. They had her for 8 months of her life and then put her up for adoption.
Yeah, but for him, I feel like his anger and how he would throw tantrums and stuff, he was very much like childlike.
Yeah. He's a fucking predator is what he is.
He is. And so she was like the new model of what he had gotten before. And so it was like awesome, you know, and she probably did have that, you know, like she had comfort in, you know, he does want me. He didn't want to give me up and all of that. And then that got misconstrued.
Right.
Because we don't know how she was raised.
Like with affection.
Right. And like sexually and stuff, like with sex ed and, you know, so like
with the openness, and was it more like purity culture type thing? And
yeah. So, you know what I mean? So it could have been just like, oh, that's how you show affection. Okay. You know, like this is how they do it here. And this is, you know, like whatever.
Well, and you could just see how he started kind of grooming her with the sleeping on her floor. And, you know, it's so ick. I mean, the whole thing is just fucking disgusting. But, you know, he literally did to her what he did to Alyssa. Because, you know, I just think, what does a 20-year-old want with a 15-year-old? And I think there are occasions where that's not that bizarre, but I don't know. I just, knowing him and like the whole story, I'm like, he's ick. So that's ick. Because she's not old enough. Because she's not 18. And if that is what our legal age is, she's not a legal age.
But our legal age isn't 18.
For consensual sex, it is.
Is it?
I think.
I thought it was 15.
Oh. Okay, so we just Googled it 2 hours later. We Googled it, and I did find a thing. However, it was from the Mississippi Department of Health and Human Services, and it was like a statutory rape, a guide to state laws and reporting requirements. It was from 2004.
A long time ago.
But it's like literally the first thing that pulled up on
Yeah.
Google, so I think that it's probably still accurate, ? But the youngest age for age of consent is 16. Most states are 16, 17, and then 18, but majority of states are 16.
So I was the closest, but just saying. So at 16, I say whatever. I'm not saying as a parent you shouldn't say you're too young or you're young and...
Well, she lived in Texas, and Texas is 17, so...
Well, that was in 2004. 1995 was different, I'm sure.
And he lived in New York, and it was 17, so...
Well, look it up in 1995, ma'am.
Well, I don't know how to do that.
I don't know what that laugh was. I'm just saying... Well, I was one of those people, the 15-year-olds talking to the 20-year-olds. But honestly, it's because I Benjamin Buttoned intellectually, and I was way smarter then than I am now. And so online, I didn't like talking to the people my age. They talked about stuff I didn't freaking care to talk about. So I talked to older people. Now I'm talking to younger guys, and they're more on my wavelength because I've regressed.
I know I've said this before, but I just remember, like, one time in freaking, like, the summer before 9th grade, talking in a chat room to this guy, and he told me, like, I was 14, and he told me he was 38, and, like, we were, like, talking, and it's like, wait, like, looking back now, I'm like, this 38-year-old was talking to me, and he knew I was a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely had those, and that's not right.
No,
ever.
I know. And it's just like, but I just think back and I'm like, God.
Yeah. No, like the person I'm thinking about, we're still Facebook friends.
No. Yeah.
Like, hell, you met,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So, like, no. But those people, yeah, no.
He didn't Benjamin Button in his smartness.
No, he just continued to get smart. And
He's probably like, what happened to her?
he really is.
She didn't Benjamin Button. She's
I
still
totally
smart.
did, though. I did.
No, you just blossomed in different ways. Well, hopefully your story isn't as ick.
Definitely not.
Also, though, I told you you'd agree with me on this one. So,
Yeah.
podcast continues.
Whew. All right. Well, I'm talking about a guy named Christopher Case. He grew up in Richmond, Virginia, and was really always into music. In Richmond, he was a radio DJ for a local station, but of course, he wanted more. More meant moving, and to follow his passion, he didn't hesitate. When he was 35, he moved to Seattle, Washington, and started a new career with Muzak Holdings.
You said music weird.
Oh, Lord. So, I mean, it is exactly what they're saying. It's the elevator music and the hold music and all that lovely little tuning music that you hear. They did that. It's the Muzak. Well, he worked as a music executive there, and he was in heaven because this job allowed him the opportunity to travel and talk to people who were as passionate about music as he was.
No. Muzak.
Christopher had always been more of a chill-at-home type guy than go out to party. Like, hey, new album dropped. I'm going to stay up all night, listen to it. Y'all go have fun. But that didn't mean he didn't have friends, because he did. And even when he moved across country to Seattle, he kept in touch with all of his hometown friends.
Yeah, just because you're an introvert doesn't mean you don't have friends. It just means you're an introvert.
Right. And he easily made friends in Seattle, too. He was a really likable guy. He was a people person, and he had to be in the field he was in. But music wasn't his only passion. He was really into fitness. He worked out regularly and took daily vitamins and supplements. His health was really important to him, and he made it a priority. All right, so all of that little background brings us to April 11th, 1991, your birthday.
So my birthday was in both stories.
I know.
Sucker.
Christopher went to San Francisco, California for a business meeting. He met some other music execs there, and I'm not sure if this was a little later in the night or if something happened at the same time of the business meeting, and then later him and this woman had like dinner or something. But anyway, Chris met this older woman, like 20 years older, and they had this mutual love of ancient music, which I guess is why he liked music. I don't know. But just shit that no one else really cared about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they were like, oh my gosh. So I'm thinking they got to talking and her interest grew a little more and she pursued him, but he wasn't interested in anything more than the conversation that they were currently having. Well, she asked again if he would escort her home or to the room, but he declined. So this rejection caused her mood to shift because, duh, rejection hurts. But instead of being sad, she was mad. She started looking at him and he described her look as kind of creepy. And then she proclaimed that she was a witch and she was going to curse him and he would die within a week. Of course, Christopher didn't take it too seriously or anything. So he was like, okay, peace out. Sorry, whatever, bye. Well, the next morning, he headed back to Seattle without giving her threat another thought. However, on April 14th, Christopher called his friend Sammy and explained that he couldn't sleep because he kept hearing voices, like strange whispers, and that he could hear footsteps, but no one was there. And he felt like someone was watching him. And because of all of this, he couldn't sleep. So then he confided in Sammy what had happened in San Francisco and was like, do you think this is all real? And they were both like, nah, probably not. Like, that's silly, right? That's too far-fetched. Whatever. Jet lag, all the things, you're stressed, it's going to blow over. But 2 days later, on April 16th, Christopher called Sammy again. But this time, he said he had been attacked. So what happened, he was finally able to sleep at night, but while he was sleeping, he felt like someone was trying to strangle him. Again, he couldn't see anyone, but that's what he felt. So unseen hands, we've heard it time and time again. Christopher said it felt as though his body was lifted off the bed during the attack, but he couldn't move at all. And he also noticed some cuts, like small cuts on his fingertips and blood stains on his sheets, which that made me think of the night that the night that the
lights went out in Georgia?
Yes. Like the judge in the town's got
blood stains on his hands?
Yeah. Anyway, so this, has definitely progressed. Soon after the phone call, Christopher wasted no time. He went to a religious bookstore. And of course, the store manager, Rodney Higuchi, ? He was like, and what can I help you with today, sir? He's, what they all do when you walk in. And he's like, I need crucifixes and lots of them. So the store manager was like, okay, what's going on? And so Christopher went on about how he was cursed and how he felt supernatural powers were at play and that they wanted to hurt him. And so the manager was like, cha-ching. Just kidding. But seriously, he was like, okay, here's some books that will help you against witchcraft because that's what it sounds like to me. Well, of course, Christopher bought everything because he was scared because he literally had something happen to him that he couldn't fight against, couldn't see to defend himself against, and he had no idea what to do. When he got home, Christopher placed the crucifixes all throughout his apartment along with the candles. He poured salt lines at all the entryways to every room. And just to note, Sammy wasn't the only friend who was receiving these, paranoid sounding, scared phone calls from Christopher. Lots were. Because by this time, he didn't know what to do. He was just kind of calling multiple people that he trusted, just hoping they might have some suggestion. But most said that he, said the same thing, that he was going to die soon because the witch was attacking him in his sleep. She cursed him and he's going to die. Well, that night, it's really unknown what caused this, but Christopher left his apartment and stayed at a hotel. Well, it's 1991, no cell phones, and when Sammy hadn't heard from Christopher, she was like, let me call and check on him. Well, she didn't get an answer. So she contacted the Seattle police to conduct a welfare check. And the reason why she had to contact the police is because she lived in North Carolina. So, she's feeling helpless and scared. When the police got to Christopher's apartment, it was locked. So, they can't break in. There's no signs of a struggle or anything off. So they just reported back that everything looked normal. But Sammy knew everything wasn't normal. And again, she just felt helpless and confused. On the morning of April 17th, she found her answering machine's light blinking. She hurriedly pressed play, hoping to hear Christopher's voice, and she finally was able to breathe a huge sigh of relief when she did in fact hear her good friend's voice. But then she listened to the words he was saying. Christopher said that they almost got him and that he was going to die today. And that same day, he went and visited a Catholic priest, and he went back to that same bookstore and talked to that manager again. Everyone he talked to said he didn't seem too panicked like he had been before, almost as if he had succumbed to his fate, like he was saying his goodbyes without saying the words themselves. Well, the next day, April 18th, Sammy and another friend both called for a welfare check to be done on Christopher because, again, they hadn't heard from him for the remainder of the 17th. And, that night he didn't check in. He didn't do anything. They couldn't get him. So they were like, no, this is not right. So the police went, and instead of the door being locked like it had been before, this time it was unlocked and they were able to go inside. They found Christopher kneeling in his empty bathtub. His head was resting on the wall and he was facing the wall. So it was like his forehead was resting up against the wall. When they checked, they confirmed that he was, in fact, deceased.
Gosh.
And it was exactly 7 days after his business trip to San Francisco when he was reportedly cursed to die within the week. There were no signs of a struggle or forced injury. He was fully clothed, and it looked as if he passed away while doing some sort of ritual. He had candles surrounding his bathtub that had all burnt out, salt lines again everywhere, including on the porch where he had laid them in like a geometric design. The crucifixes were everywhere, and church music played softly in different rooms of his apartment. The police said that there were some other objects that were found at the scene that, quote, have some significance in self-protection against demon or evil forces. So I don't know what that is, but that's what the police said. So I was like, but what do they be though? Like what?
But it could literally be anything.
I know, but I'm like, but what is it?
So they said crucifixes. Mm-hmm. So what, a Bible? Holy water? Like what else?
I don't know. That's
a figurine of a fucking priest? I don't know.
I don't know. Why wouldn't they say it? Well, they also found letters and little scribbled notes about the witch, meeting her, about evil people who had been watching him, about all the stuff he was experiencing. Well, an autopsy was performed and revealed that Christopher's death was caused by myocarditis. So basically inflammation
of the heart.
Yeah. Well, they linked Christopher taking vitamin supplements to this causing inflammation, but there was never really anything definitive from that. But it's also important to note that Christopher didn't have any symptoms of myocarditis, which can be like chest pain, abnormal heartbeat, shortness of breath, fluid retention, that kind of stuff. Again, he was just a healthy 35-year-old, exercised regularly, did not do drugs, did not drink alcohol, nothing. I don't know. Other people say that, okay, well, athletes.
Yep. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. Deal with this. But other people say it's from them doing like steroids or something.
No, there's like, sorry, I like totally interrupted you. So like in such an asshole way. I didn't mean it. I was like, no, but it happens to like high school athletes that have a genetic condition that leads them to that. So it has nothing to do with them doing steroids. They're just genetically predisposed. So not necessarily having anything to do with steroids of any nature.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like 35 would be an age where you're kind of getting at that. I mean, you're kind of getting that age where shit like this gonna start happening.
Okay, but question for you.
The answer is C.
Man, she's spicy today, y'all. Okay, so if he didn't have any of those symptoms, is that weird?
No.
Okay.
I mean, there's literally a heart attack called the Widowmaker because most people don't even know they have it. Like they don't even know they have that blockage, and then you just have this heart attack. And
but that's not what he had.
No, I'm just saying, like there's like literally heart attacks called that. Like so people have these huge blockages in their heart that happen, that it takes like time to build up and all of that. And then they just have these, you know what I mean? So you would think like, oh, you should have chest pain. You should have all that, blah, 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 blah. So it's like people have ailments all the time that they don't know they have.
No, I get that. But for this certain thing.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not that kind of doctor.
You just play one on this podcast? Because you just cussed me out, basically, when you were like, hell no. Well, if someone out there is smarter than Kerri, let us know.
So literally everyone.
Do you think he could have brought stress upon himself and caused his heart failure?
For sure. Without a doubt. He was like literally walking around in pure terror that he is about to die.
So you think he could will himself to die?
Yeah, 100%.
Did you or did you not say that you couldn't will yourself to die on the one that I covered? You looked up so fast.
Okay, I didn't know I was being deposed this episode. The fucking mag light just got turned on me. Click, click. That was her fucking flashlight coming on.
But the one where she said that she was going to die before she was like 16 or whatever. And I was like, can she predict her own death? And can she do this? And you're like, no, or something. I swear.
I think you can will yourself. You know how fickle I am. You can ask me something one day and I'm going to say no. And you ask me the same thing the next day and I'm going to say yes.
Oh, that's what fickle means? Awesome.
Well, ask me tomorrow and I'll tell you a different definition.
Lord knows.
But today, yes, I think you can will yourself to die.
All right. Do you think there's a possibility that he never actually met a woman and she could have been like a hallucination and this was like a mental break for him? Okay, two things to that. One, I kind of wondered, was it like some sort of delusion? But we probably would have known if he had some sort of mental disorder that had delusions like that, like schizophrenia, because he's 35 years old. And at that point, it's typically already diagnosed. So then I thought like, okay, could it be like a brain tumor? But then like when they did the autopsy, they would have found that. So I don't know. But then I was thinking, I mean, how many witches do we know? They would not be like, you don't want to date me? Fine. I'm going to curse you to die. Right.
People, I just feel like witches aren't like that. I mean, of course there's always bad apples, but it's like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like that's like a classic, like, give witches bad names and like there's paraphernalia in his apartment to ward off demons and so it's just like, okay,
Right. I think if this lady existed, she wasn't a witch in the sense that we know, like she was a different type of person. She was that person who's going to say that for the shock value and whatever, or I don't know. But they were talking about ancient music, and I think they were talking about like Egyptian religious music that was found and, all of that. So it's like, that's kind of eerie anyway, when you think about it. Like, I don't know, because it made me think about that, that song that when people would listen to it, I think it was called Bloody Sunday. God, I covered it. I'm sorry, y'all. But that they would die by suicide, a lot of them. And it was like, is this song making them do this? Sorry, Gloomy Sunday is what it was called.
Yeah.
But it's like, what if they were listening to some of this music or something? Like, I don't know. And maybe she didn't say that, but like maybe she said, like she got mad or something, but that's what he heard from that. I don't know. But what if he really was cursed? Because I believe in curses too. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I believe in curses.
But the witches on Disney, they are very specific with their curses. So.
Well, I mean, if you believe in the Bible, the Passover even.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know.
I mean, it's not necessarily like a curse, but it's God saying that, like, he was going to take the firstborn son unless you put, like, lamb's blood or whatever over the house. So it's like,
yeah.
I mean, kind of is,
Yeah. And maybe she wasn't a witch, but maybe she was like that spiteful person. And then she went and found someone who practiced. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. It's hard because I do believe in curses and I believe in like manifestation and, different things like that. So it's hard for me to write it off as anything. But I also believe, like you said, you put that into someone's mind that you're going to die within a week. And even like, okay, he brushed it off, but then in his subconscious, something happened. And let's say it was real. And that night it happened like that, the voices, whatever, whatever. It's like, that's not normal. Oh my God. Like, is it real? Then you're going to start being hypersensitive to everything. Mm-hmm. Even if it wasn't a curse, like to kill him, even if it was something that had a shadow person or what, like, y'all, I don't know. I'm just kind of talking out of my ass here out loud. Sorry. But he had that. And then he did like kind of manifest his own death because he was too like hypersensitive and, he went too far over the edge trying to like do this ritual and all of this stuff to counteract what he thought was against him.
And for that matter, we don't know what in the fuck he opened up or did with all of the things that he read and did in those books.
Right.
Or could that person that he met even at that bookstore taking advantage of him? We don't know.
Right. Because the thing is, the store manager said, that sounds like witchcraft. Here's all the stuff to fight witchcraft. Well, there's lots of different things. It's not just like, oh, witchcraft. Here's all you need to know. Well, it's not just like, that's very general, and there's different religions and different practices and different.
Yeah, that's like being like, here's everything you need to know about Christianity. Boom.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Absolutely. There's no way you have everything you need to know about Christianity in this place.
Right. So, like he didn't know what he was combating, but he was only fighting what that one person said, okay, this is what you need. And it's from a religious bookstore that sees a lot of things as evil. Like, I don't know. It's just really sad that he did lose his life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And his last week was in total chaos and sadness. And, just, I can't even imagine just how he felt.
I really do hope that if the witch is real, that's not really what happened. I don't know. Like, that's some fucking dark magic.
Right.
And it just gives people a bad name,
I totally get what you're talking about because this lady doesn't have to be a bad person either. She got rejected. And that's how she, did it. I'm not saying, like, if you get rejected, like, retaliate. Not saying that, but I'm just thinking about that sinister sightings that we had about astral projection and that guy that, like, they were friends, like, on the internet, and she woke up and she felt like he was there or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she was like, were you in my house or something? And he was like, nah. And then another time he came and she saw him again. And I think he said something that, like, kind of tipped her off. Like, no, you were in my house. Like, he did astral project, you know, and it was like, he was kind of obsessed with her.
Yeah.
And, like, he's invading her privacy. Like, she was sleeping. He wasn't a bad person that we know of, but, like, they were friends and all of this, but she didn't want more. He did. And he took the means he had and did what he wanted to do with them. You know what I mean? Like, well, I could do this.
Yeah, but it doesn't make it right.
It doesn't make it right. I'm just saying, I don't think she's like, what can I do that's evil with this? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that anyone, well, I don't.
Yeah, I think you're just trying to look for the good in people because...
I think so.
Yeah, I think you are because if you're going to do that to someone, you are an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, fair and square, you're an asshole.
I do want there to be good people.
Well, there are good people, but there are also assholes.
Yeah. There's one of each in here.
Yeah, you're the asshole.
Okay.
That was such a good comeback, Donna.
I just talk out of mine.
I'm not even I'm not touching that with a 10-foot dildo.
I would like it too much.
I know. I'm not giving you the pleasure.
Touche. Oh, God. Well. Okay, so what do you think happened? He really just had the inflammation of the heart?
Yeah, he probably had the inflammation of the heart and literally, like, there could have been a girl and she was like, you know what? I'm going to fucking curse you. And he had the inflammation of the heart because he literally worried himself to death. Or he just had the inflammation of the heart and no, because he told his friends. So I don't know.
I mean, maybe he just scared himself to death. Worried himself, scared himself to death.
But something, like, tipped him off. You know, something, like, set him off. So what was it? You know, was there really a girl?
I think so. But I don't know. Again, she might have said it. But, again, I mean, people say shit that they don't mean.
Yeah. Well, we may never know what caused Christopher's death. It's sad because he was young.
He was. And finally living what he wanted to do, you know? Mm-hmm.
And with my story, it's so freaking sad that Anthony, Katie, and Katie's son Bennett all lost their lives at the hand of Stephen, and then who ultimately died by suicide himself. There's just so much, just that whole story was just disgusting. So much trauma, so much, I feel like mental illness, it just... so much. And I feel so sorry for Alyssa and the two other biological kids that have to deal with this.
Yes.
They have to, I mean, they lost their father. They finally found out that they had another sister, and then now she's gone.
Well, found out they had a sister, then were forced to call her their stepmom.
And then they had a baby. You look at that 11-year-old's at the time's diary, and there's so much anger and confusion and, you know, she'll never be able to process through that with her dad. She's going to have to figure out how to do that on her own. And so many people have to do that because of shitty relationships with their parents or their parents pass on or whatever. But I just hate for her to have to do that at such a young age.
Yeah.
And through no fault of her own, which it never is, through the fault of the kid. But, you know, it just sucks that her dad made such shit decisions and it impacts them.
Yeah, and you know, Alyssa has so much guilt for leaving when she shouldn't, you know?
Right.
But she can't help it because she's a mom.
Well, but it wouldn't change anything because Stephen was sleeping in Katie's room even when Alyssa was still living there. For sure. And Katie was in it to win it even before because when Alyssa tried to warn her about the abuse, she was just like, okay, just, you know, very flippant about it and, you know, nonchalant, just didn't care.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So they were, I mean, allegedly in love as they call it. Ugh, I can't even say it. It gives me chill, like sends shivers through my body to even say, to call what they had in love, like sends shivers down my body.
Well, because we know they weren't. And that's evident by when she was taken out of that situation. Katie was like, yeah, this isn't right.
Yeah, maybe I should end this. Actually, I'm going to.
Yeah.
It's just so hard, too, because it's such, like, you're in a place where you don't want to victim blame because it's not her fault, Katie's fault, the decisions that Steven made.
Right.
But you also want to be like, she broke the no contact order. Like, she should have just let it go, instead of calling him to be like, I want to end it. Just fucking let it go. Y'all have this no contact order. Y'all had gone a month or more without talking. Just fucking let it go. But she just had to call him, But again, I'm not saying that that's what led to her getting murdered. No, Steven is what led to her getting murdered. Steven not being able to cope with his emotions. Steven being a piece of shit human is what led to her getting murdered.
Right.
So let's be clear. Should she have broken the no contact? Abso-fucking-lutely not. She broke the fucking law. There was a no contact order by the judge. She broke the law. But does that mean she get murdered? Fuck no.
Right.
So did she make a bad decision? Abso-fucking-lutely. Should she fucking die? Hell no.
Right.
And should she be blamed for what happened to her? Hell fucking no.
And it just shows his disregard for life that he murdered Bennett.
Mm-hmm. And I don't understand why he murdered Anthony. Like, I mean, I guess he was just...
That was the moment, like the opportunity that he could do it.
Collateral damage, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But it's just like, well, why not wait until she was alone? Like, why not have taken her out when they were walking out to the car or whatever? Like, I just don't understand.
But also, Anthony was her dad.
But Anthony and Kelly did everything to support them. They fucking went to your wedding. Like, they let her do anything that she wanted to do.
I know.
Like, why take him out?
Well, but he took his own son out.
True. But still, it just makes... And I guess, again, like I always tell you, we're trying to fucking put logic to the illogical. So
right.
There's no way we're going to make any sense of it.
Ugh.
But we do want to know what y'all think happened to Chris.
Yes, please, please.
Definitely tell us what y'all think happened to him, because we could go round and round and round. Well, this happened, then this happened, but what about this?
Yes. Yeah, and we always want to hear y'all's feedback.
Absolutely.
Well, because, we argue all the time.
I mean, it's not a day goes by that we don't bicker about something. We are an old married couple.
We really are. But if you like our bickering or, whatever the fuck we're doing right now, can you leave us a review on iTunes? Because that really helps us. Or Apple Podcast or whatever it's called now.
Yeah, that really, really helps us. And don't forget, you can follow us on social media at the APC Podcast. And remember,
Creep it real
and don't get scared.